Hi guys, the new Dark Shuri has been announced. Westwind Executioner Shuri, very edgy name. And with him, I've got some thoughts, and I wanted to go over his kit and why I think he's actually pretty cool. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing we have to talk about when it comes to Shuri is his base stats. He's 111 base speed. He's got 48 effectiveness when you max out his S2 passive. And interestingly enough, if you see on screen right now, he is another plus 10 speed imprint for the team, which is also AoE, and it isn't like a specific tile. Now, if you guys aren't familiar, before we even go even further into his kit, having speed imprints can be really nice whenever you're racing, but more importantly, when you start to run out of imprints in epicseven or when you start to race, something that you'll notice is that tile placements start to matter. One thing that's actually very prominent, and maybe it's not something that everyone necessarily has to deal with because you don't deal with speed imprints, is that the 14 speed imprints actually are all three, or yeah, if I'm not mistaken, all three 14 speed imprints can't actually be used together. So in that sense, it's actually helpful sometimes to have speed imprints that are fast but are AoE tiles, and that's why characters like Vildred, that's why characters like Sid can be very, very helpful. And adding to that list of AoE imprints that help out the team is Westwind Executioner Shuri. Now, just wanted to go over that specifically because I think regardless of how Shuri ends up working, I think the fact that he's a 10 speed imprint will actually help quite a bit. Now, I do want to go over his actual kit because, to be honest, his kit looks pretty fantastic. Before that, his self-imprint is effectiveness, if you care for that. But given the way that he works, I'm pretty sure that you won't end up using his self-imprint. But let's get into his S2 passive. The first of which says that you increase his effectiveness by up to 30%. He is unable to trigger a critical hit, and at the start of battle, you grant explosives to the ally in the back row, except for the caster. Now, explosives, just all you do is you plant the bomb on the target for 2 turns, and you dispel after attacking. Now, the thing is, I've never seen a debuff like this specifically. This is new. I'm not sure, or I'm assuming that the application for this buff is basically the same as something like Chains of Chiron, where it's not guaranteed to land, and in that case, whether or not you are at the mercy of 15%, or I'm just going to assume that you're at the mercy of 15%, that'll probably be a thing for Shuri to struggle with and kind of deal with himself. But ultimately, planting bombs as another sort of Chiron or Jacko Chiron-esque kind of character is quite interesting. Formerly, if you want to do something like that, you'd have to have another limited character, which is Jacko, and Jacko has, made her appearance back in the day, and she has been relevant at times, especially for people that want to use things like Jacko or Requiem Rowana alongside her. But now we have a 4-star Moonlight that also does something similar. Now, to be clear, he doesn't push up or anything like that, but interestingly, regarding the explosives buff, you apply the debuff, but you actually don't, from what I can tell, detonate right after. And that's where we move on to the S3 passive. Now, with the S3 passive, oh, actually, did I skip over the S3 passive? Sorry, I guess we can go over the S1 passive. The S1 passive reads that it attacks the enemy and has an 85% chance to burn. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I didn't skip. Where is the... Oh, here it is. Here's the S3 passive. So the S3 passive reads that you attack all enemies with a 100% chance to inflict 2 burn effects for 2 turns. And at the end of the turn, Shuri detonates all burn and bomb effects inflicted on the target. Now, if you guys have ever played someone like Requiem Rowana or any of the other bridge or gap characters with someone like Jacko, you'll know that, or with cleave units in general, I should say, even, you'll know that having a bridge and having some way to activate or do big damage basically is quite important for someone like Shuri. And because of the fact that he's a 4-star, and from what I could tell from this, he's definitely going to be aimed more at being more aggressive or being more speed tempo-y, in especially with his speed imprint, by the way. But since that's the case, having some way of activating or applying the burn and detonate effect is quite impactful, or it's quite important. But with Shuri specifically, it's kind of confusing, or it's a little bit interesting for me personally, specifically because there's no kind of catch-up mechanic specifically for Shuri. Outside of, well, naturally outspeeding or doing something like maybe, I don't know, pushing the entire enemy team behind with something like Requiem Ruana. The fact that there is no kind of combat readiness push to take him ahead of other enemies, in a similar way that someone like Summertime Iseria does kind of leave me a little bit concerned about how viable or how how relevant his debuffs will be, because even if you end up using something like the burn on someone like Shuri, you have to take the turn and actually apply your S3 in order for you to, well, detonate. And that's actually it's actually pretty important. You could argue that just having the explosive debuff itself could be synergistic in the sense that you could have then someone that also has detonate, burn, and bomb effects also included in their kit. That includes someone like Silverblade Araminta, who's gaining some traction in Summertime Iseria, whose EE is quite impactful. But the final thing I want to talk about is his S1. Apologies, didn't mean to get too far ahead of myself. Thought I missed the S3. But that's the fact that it is an S1 where you have a 100% chance to burn for one turn. You can soul burn to inflict an additional burn for one turn. And when the skill 3 is unavailable due to cooldown count, you activate Annihilate, which is basically it's a detonate burn effect, which makes sense. But it also applies a burn, which is okay. But the idea behind overpowering it, having an additional effect when the S3 is on cooldown, is that if there is already, assuming that you've already used your S3, you should now be detonating or applying burns to the enemy or something to that effect, which is why if you haven't used your S3 yet, you'll continue burning and you won't, detonate. But once your S3 is on cooldown, the idea is supposed to be that, okay, now it's time for you to start detonating. Honestly, I think it's pretty interesting, but truth be told, guys, with all these characters and things like this, the most important thing is ultimately going to be, just his damage numbers. And from what we've seen in terms of the showcase, like I'll give a little bit of a reel as it kind of goes through. The damage on him seems interesting. Now, that being said, we do, end up showing someone like the Shuri alongside the Silverblade Araminta. Apologies, goddamn, all these names. But having all these, oh wait, what is going on? Interesting. Okay, anyways, having the detonate and having all the debuffs, I think is honestly pretty cool. But at the same time, with all like the burns and debuffs and such, it feels a little bit weird to be relying on yet another character for debuffs. I get it. Some people will rely on Requiem Ruana, or they'll rely on, Summertime Iseria. But yeah, that looks pretty goofy. Obviously, if you took a look at that, if we just want to replay it again, that's 34,000 damage. That's 32,000. The person down below on the bottom took 33,777. And I get it. This is one of the most meta teams on your screen right now, and it took literally 34,000 damage total, which does look pretty good. However, again, whether or not this is realistic or not is kind of up for your own interpretation. It does not, to be clear, or, Shuri's S3, to be clear, does not strip, which, makes things a little bit more interesting. But that isn't to say that this character is bad by any means, because again, part of the value in someone like Silverblade Araminta is also her ability to do amazing amounts of damage and do a lot of control. But she also has the unique aspect of not being given strips in her kit, so they're able to enhance her power, give her enough power just through the debuffs or through what she does on the S3 by itself. Now, again, the damage, I'll be honest, I didn't actually get to see or didn't quite focus enough on. This damage that they did was really crazy. I just want to kind of break it down exactly, or break it down for a moment too, because so this is an attack buff, Silverblade Araminta. There are 2 bombs and a, 2 burns and a detonate, or in a bomb. Jesus, why can I not? How much is this? Sorry, I'll increase the quality of this as well. It's got 11,000 HP. Okay, so with 4 burns and a bomb, an attack increase from both Silverblade Araminta and the Westwind SCHURI, we do about 32,000 damage, 34,000 if we include the actual hit itself. Personally, from what I could tell, that looks, well, pretty serviceable. Now, again, I think the elephant in the room is that if you're trying to use someone like Westwind SCHURI, you have a lot of hoops and bounds to work around. You have to make sure that you're not fighting against, you know, an Angel of Light, and you have to make sure you're not fighting against certain characters that cleanse, or, you know, may cleanse off any debuffs, and that includes, again, someone like the Ilanov and the Ambitious Tywin. And more importantly, beyond that, you actually need a character that can stun, as you're seeing here, because otherwise, if you have so much AoE and you're fighting against someone like Ilanov, the enemy team will just cleanse, and then who cares about anything that you just did. But long story short, guys, I'm actually quite impressed with this kit. I think if you are someone that gets Westwind SCHURI, I think you'll be pretty happy in building him. Number one, because he's an imprint and he gives a little bit more variety to now a character that you can basically kill and have a bit more effectiveness with. Some of the other 4-star 10 speed imprints are sometimes not that worth it outside of Sid. And although, like, again, you can have someone like Watcher SCHURI and Sid for imprints, it does also give you a little bit more value, or it's a little bit nicer here to have an additional character that does deal meaningful damage while also technically can debuff. But yeah, based on this, I think the 10 speed, I think the fact that he does so much, he really does do a decent amount of damage with his S3, and he also sets up other debuffers quite well, I think would make him worth building if you get him. But since he's someone that is going to be attached to a, you know, an existing, he's going to be attached to an existing Mystic banner, I don't know if I would personally go out of my way to pull for him, unless if you're really desperate, I guess maybe to get someone like Pirate Captain Flan, who will be entering into the Mystic summons coming up soon. In any case, though, guys, I think it looks cool. If I had to guess, he's probably going to be built with 4,000 attack and as much bulk and as much speed as you can afford, 200 effectiveness perhaps. But yeah, looks pretty cool. We'll have to see exactly how much attack and how much damage he needs in order to do the damage that you're seeing on screen. But the glaring weakness that I can think of right now is the fact that he will have to be paired with specific characters, which is fine because everyone does that. But he's not some god tier all-in-one stripper into debuffer into detonator. Which, funnily enough, is actually kind of something that Summertime Myceria is, while also boasting having Combat Readiness Push and a strip on S1. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks again for watching. He looks pretty cool. When he comes out, I'll try and make a video on him, and hope you guys stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'll see you guys all next time. Cool showcase, Malgate. Dub. Interesting that they gave him another imprint. But yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you did, make sure to check out the rest of my socials. Bye. Bye-bye, guys. See ya.